Okay, so I'm going to do this video on replacing a window regulator on a 2006 Porsche Boxster S, mostly because I can't find anything on the internet that's really concise about how to do it. So I've cobbled together everything else I can find on the internet to put it together and see how I go. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the door card. So it's really just a series of bolts that you take off this little triangular panel, I should say, and then get into the door handle there and take that one off. And there's a series of other ones. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all that, and then we'll get to the window regulator in a bit. Okay, to get this little triangle panel off, basically what we're going to need to do is lever up on the bottom of it, so the bottom of it comes out towards us, and then once it's out just a little bit, you slide it up, and then it'll just slide out quite easily. So just to give you an idea, get up underneath it and you'll hear tabs undo, and then just I'll put that down, slide it up and off. There's actually a piece, a rubber piece, where is it? This rubber piece that I've already taken off, so just to give you an idea what's usually there. So we'll leave that for now. We'll get this one off next. So that's a T25. So this one in here is a T15. I've just undone that little nut in there, and I'm going to just pull that off quite easily. It comes off. Push this little, there you go. T20. It'll come out eventually. If I can remember correctly, it's just getting in there, and I think I've forgotten. I just remembered. That just pulls off like that. This is a very expensive part. Try not to damage it, probably like I have, but yeah, I can't remember. I think that's worth something like $700. So yeah, not something you want to really have to be replacing. Okay, so there's a series of screws in here. There's one there, and then down in that hole there. There's one, and this is two. In the door pull. Yay! I think this is the last one. This is just removing this. Probably supposed to use a proper tool for it, but which would be advisable. 1 second. So this little panel comes off here. So that comes off, and that last screw there. There we go. This is the sight that will greet you when you finally get your door card off the door. Just take a little bit of a look around here, and there's the electric motor assembly with its associated transmission for the window regulator. There's a few attachments that we need to remove. We need to remove this attachment here, which is for the door pull. This little electric attachment which is basically almost like a printer cartridge in the way that it removes. That orange part flips down and it just pulls out, sort of, as I said, a little bit like a printer cartridge. There's this electrical attachment there. I think there was one more, but I don't think I put it back in last time I had a look inside the door. So just a quick note, popular wisdom is to take the battery off, isolate the battery before you start this. A lot of people say it's a necessary step because, well, obviously you don't want the airbag going off. Nobody wants that. But to my way of thinking, I can't see that the airbag would go off because, number one, the car isn't running. I believe the car needs to be actually running for the airbag to be armed. And the second point is you would need the airbag sensor to be triggered. So, having said all that, I probably think my next step will be now to disconnect the battery. Just because we're working in such close proximity with the airbag, and we don't want any nasty surprises. Connected the battery, and now I'm going to remove this little tab. Just trying to remember how this goes. I think how's that? I forget now. I think it goes down. It's a little difficult, but it's just a case of getting that lever down, and out she goes. That's that one, and then we're going for this one next. So going back on that tab, and that releases that. Okay, and then we want to, without trying to put too much strain on it, we want to release. Ow. We want to release. It's hard doing it with one hand, but I just lifted these tabs so that this can slide, and then it pops out like that, and then that's relatively easy to get out like that. And with that, the door card is free. Okay, so we're just gonna pop this down. Get the door card removed, the interior door card, and the next thing to do is to remove this aluminium cover. There used to be a polyurethane cover for the 986, but in the 987 they changed it to an aluminium weatherproof panel, so that all of the rain and what have you goes down the other side and keep all the electrics nice and dry on this side. So anyway, there's about 7 of these T25 or T20s, something like that, and they sort of line the door going around the perimeter of the aluminium separator panel. Okay, so we're going to take those off. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I found a tripod now that I can use for making my hands free. So I'm taking all those screws off, and this is okay. So these have to sort of feed through at the same time. Sort of just right. One important step. Okay, so there's an important step that I forgot to mention, which is to take these 3 T25 screws off of the motor assembly here, and that will free this aluminium plate from the regulator behind. So fortunately, in their wisdom, Porsche chose to keep all these screws the same. So the screws that I was taking off before, it's all with the same Torx bit, and that is a T25. So thank you very much, Porsche. Okay, so that's all of those off. Now, on the other side of this aluminium panel, there's a little sort of clip that keeps the spindle inside. You'll see, as soon as I take this off here, well, because I removed this earlier, and as you can see, the cable from the regulator has got completely messed up. So we definitely need to replace the regulator in this case. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to just pinch off this. I can do it by hand. Yep. So that releases the regulator component from the other side of where it's plugged into or screwed into the housing here. So now we really should be able to take off this whole panel. Okay, so we've got that the panel removed. I'm just going to take off these last few screws that I left hanging, left the aluminium panel hanging with, and so that's free, and that can just drop down. I need to free this regulator housing, and that's gone, as you've just heard. Now, the next thing, which is a little bit tricky, is to remove these cables that go from the airbag to the airbag sensor inside the door. So that's a little bit tricky, and it's going to need both my hands. So okay, so this is going to be a little bit fiddly to show you, and it's very dark in here. So where can I get the lens in to show you? Okay, these connectors need to unplug, and they're very hard to get off. Okay, there's one, and the second one is even harder to get off. And Ray's got to go and turn the stake, so he needs to go. Okay, so we're underneath the door, and to get the anchor nuts out of the bottom of the regulator, take off that little rubber tab, and we unscrew that nut, and this nut here as well, just to get that aluminium panel out of the way so I could get underneath the door and unscrew those nuts for the regulator. I just pinned it up again with a couple of screws, one on either side. So we're going to take that one off there, and take this one off here. And then the regulator, once again, will, not the regulator, the aluminium panel will drop down. And drop it did. But that's okay. Now we're just going to, again, take these anchoring nuts off again, and we should be able to remove the regulator completely. Forgot that I loosened that one. Okay. I'll chuck that down in my little parts bin here. Okay, I forgot to loosen that one. A little bit more. Yeah, so there's obviously some tension on it because I've just realised that it's got the weight of the window coming down on it. Anyway, let's see how this goes. I'll get this window down so I can mark where the regulator clamps touch the window, and try and get it back in the same place. Okay, so I've just put the blue tape around where the regulator clamp is, and on that one there. So now I can take the window off of the regulator clamps and then get rid of the regulator. And once again, you guessed it, it's a T25 screw, which is fantastic. And that has moved that already, which is great news. There's a little less room to move here, so I'm just going to use a little set of Torx drivers here. And that's great because I can get in behind the I mean, this doesn't need to come all the way out either, it just needs to really get loose. And I should be able to take the glass out. Okay, now I should be able to remove the glass and there we go. It's that easy. Okay, so we've got the glass out, and now I think we can get the regulator out. And we can. And what a mess it is. But it's out. Alright, so this is the new regulator that I bought from Porsche. And after much consultation with various sources, I have elected to give it a little bit of grease in the pulleys. It seems like it already has grease. A lot of people say there's no grease that comes with the thing, but actually just looking at it now I can see there is grease around the pulleys. So they don't look like they need any at all. So that's good news. But what I will do is put a little bit of grease on the rails here where the clamps are going to run up and down, because they will need to be lubricated. Okay, so I'm just going to put some grease along these rails here, make sure they're really well lubricated so that the window can run up and down nice and freely. That's all it needs. Maybe just add some grease along the actual cable so it's not going to bind on anything. And that should be enough. So, here's the new regulator, and what a nice piece of equipment it is. Alright, so relatively easy to fit, to be honest. And get that stud up in the top corner. Can't quite see it yet. There. Brilliant. Okay. The trick is to put the bottom one in first, and then put the top one in like so. And the same thing over here. First, and the top stud in, and they're ready to bolt up. Okay, so I'll just keep that in place. Keep that stud there with that nut. Button up this one over here, just to finger tight it, and then we can get back underneath the door and secure the bottom nuts. And again, just to make things easier for myself, I'm going to put this aluminium panel. Going to put it back up in place. Okay, so we're back underneath the door, and that stud is poking out nicely. Oops. Try that again. Am I going the right way? Yeah, I'm going the right way. Okay, that's that one. And travel along to the front of the door there. Put that stud in. Okay, brilliant. I'll just tighten those up. Okay, I've just learned something. That's a sliding adjustment right there, so you can see where it was all these years with the previous one, and I'm just going to nudge that into place where it was before and button it up exactly there. Finger tight at first, and then get it buttoned up. Okay, and same story up here. You can see where it was all these years. I don't think it's been replaced in the entire time, so all we have to do is slide that over, and it looks like it's in the right place. I'm actually looking at it on the camera as you're seeing it the same too, so it's convenient like that. And just get that tightened up in place, and that's lovely. Hopefully it'll be exactly the same. Okay, so once again I'm just going to take off these little star screws, drop this panel down again so it's out of my way. Time to button up the regulator into the door. Another one. Nice and snug. And time to put the glass in. Okay, so the glass is a little bit misty because it's just been inside in the cold air conditioning. But that's okay. Alright. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. So it just requires a little bit of manoeuvring to get the glass to seat down into the cradle here. It's going. That's just about home there. Okay. And this one. Okay, I think I can tighten that up now. Where's my trusty little screwdriver? And then back to the front. Okay, so now I'm getting in to tighten up this one. Obviously you don't want it too tight because you don't want to be shattering the glass, but fortunately there's some little rubber stops in between the clamp and the glass, so they should act as a good buffer too. Okay, I think that's about as tight as I want to have it. Okay, let's see if we can't button this up and make it work. Okay, here we are. We're going to reinstall motor transmission and make that back up to the regulator cable on the other side. Okay, so it turns out the problem that I was having with the glass only coming part way down, well, only coming down to just above the sill, was that it needed to go down a bit deeper into the cradles on the regulator. Now, I thought that watching a few other videos, it should stay where the previous position was, and that's why you mask it up with the tape. But given that it's a new regulator and probably not exactly the same as the old one, that means that it needs to come down a bit. Anyway, got it fixed. So now I'm just buttoning up this panel. If I can remember where all these screws go. And we should be just about done. Okay, so we're just putting everything back where it was. And we're ready to put the door card back on. Okay, just a quick note, I've just seen that I'm missing two of these lugs that go into the bottom of the door card, so we can put the door card back on the car, but we'll order some of those and get them in and replace them once we get them. And now we're going to put our door card back on. Plug all of the little attachments from the door and the door card back into each other. So that's one clip. Source to the. Oh, that was right. Okay. For some reason, it's not in the right position. Okay. That fits in with the purple tab going towards the top, and as you see it at home, I think that's a redundancy there. I don't remember taking it out, and I can't see anywhere that it goes back in, so then we just move on to this door lever. I don't know if you can see it at the moment. At the moment I don't really care because I just want to get it put back in. I think the best thing to do is to move the camera in a way that you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So apologies if you won't be able to see for a second, but I'll just try and get this back in first. So that's in, and then just a little plastic tab. Yeah, and that's home. There you go. That's how it goes. Okay, now it's just a matter of hanging the door back on the ledge that it hangs on. This hangs a certain way, and you'll know that it's right because you feel it. And I was doing it wrong because I wasn't hanging the top first. That feels better. That feels good when it clicks in. I'm missing a couple along the bottom anyway, so I just have to wait and get the new ordered parts in. Alright, and then just putting these back in. Okay, this one you just have to be a little careful because you just have to squeeze the door card a little bit to make sure it lines up with the thread. And that's done. We're just about home and hosed. A couple little parts to go. It's relatively easy once you can pull the stub back and then position the door handle. That'll just rest there like that, and then at the screw. I need to put this piece back in first as well. Okay, so we've put everything back the way we found it, and that's a wrap.